It's me, Gaylyn Lareese, and welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time here, then hello, nice to meet you. So I like to make different stretch routines here on my channel. And if you have watched my videos, then one of them has probably been one of my stretch videos where I guide you guys through stretch routines to help you increase your flexibility over time and also educate you on the muscles that you're using when you're doing those stretches. And a lot of times in the comments, I'll get a response similar to this.
Hi Gaylyn, I really love this stretch routine. I'm gonna make sure I do it every single day so that I'm more flexible.
Every single day so that I'm more flexible.
And I don't really know if that's necessary. In fact, I don't even stretch every day, and I do have stretch a part of my daily life. So I feel like it's time for me to just kind of educate you guys on how your muscles work to help you make sure that you're increasing your flexibility, but also avoiding any extra pain in the process. And this will also help you improve the results of your workouts as well. Now, let me be clear, I am not a physical therapist. I am not a doctor. I have a BFA in dance, and during that time, I was educated on the different musculature that work together to help you dance. And so I kind of apply that information to my stretch videos. So when I'm talking about the different muscles in my videos, that's where my background is coming from. This particular video is to help you avoid pain, not treat pain. So if you are feeling pain, then stop immediately. And also go ahead and speak to a doctor or someone who that is actually their field of expertise, because that's not mine. Okay, so I think I got all the disclaimers out of the way now. So if you are ready to jump in, hit that like button and let's get into the video. So before we get into the 5 flexibility and stretching tips that I have, I want to kind of explain first where pain could be coming from when you are stretching, so that you have an idea first of what's even happening in your body, so you can kind of know how to react. There are 2 different places where pain could be coming from when it comes to your muscles when you are stretching. So in your whole entire body, there could be a slew of different reasons, but when it comes to your muscles, there's 2 reasons. The first could be due to a muscle strain. So a muscle strain is kind of what you think of when you think of pulling a muscle, and that's where the muscle actually rips and there's, a big rip spot in the muscle, and so you feel pain in a very specific area. It makes it very stiff. Sometimes you can't even use that muscle at all. And if that happens, if you feel that kind of really targeted, located pain, then that means that you probably have a muscle strain, and so you need to stop stretching. No stretching should be happening, especially the kind of stretching that I do in my stretch videos should be happening during that healing process. And we'll talk about some other things that you could do later in the video, but don't do too much when you have a pulled muscle. Dancers, I'm talking to you. The second thing that it could possibly be could just be your muscles having little micro tears in them. So this isn't like a giant pull. These are small little micro tears that happen in your muscle tissue when you are using it, when you're exercising, when you're stretching, and that is very normal. So that is another place that you could be feeling some discomfort, and that's what we are talking about when we talk about delayed onset muscle soreness. So this is the soreness you feel after you've done a really hard workout or after you've really stretched yourself a little bit more than you typically do. And this is completely normal, but it is something that your body is still trying to work through and repair through. So now that we understand the 2 places that pain could be coming from when you're stretching, my first tip is to prepare your muscles for stretching. So there are a couple of ways that you could do this, but the whole idea behind preparing your muscles for stretching is to actually get them warmed up to stretch them out. So think about your muscles kind of like clay. They're not like clay, but just roll with me for a second. And that you have to knead them in order to get them ready to actually stretch. With clay, you don't just start pulling it all of a sudden. You have to kind of massage it in your hands and get it warm in order to actually stretch it out. Your muscles are the same way. And a lot of times when people are stretching before they're working out, they think that the stretching is the warm up, but the stretching actually also needs a warm up. So the way that you could prepare your muscles for stretching could be a number of different ways. One of the ways that I really like using is through muscle rolling. So that is why I created my brand Motion Prep. Motion Prep massage balls are what I use to roll out my muscles before I stretch them to really get blood flow into the muscle tissue to warm it up so that it actually is ready to stretch. So this is something that I used to do Literally in college, when I was really dancing every single day, I would get there in the morning or before rehearsal and just roll my muscles out first before I stretch them. These are perfect for carrying in your gym bag or in your dance bag. So if you do want to grab your own Motion Prep massage ball set, then I will have that linked down below for you guys. And thank you to you guys who have already ordered your sets. I really appreciate when you guys support my little brand. Another way that you could do this is using a regular larger muscle roller, although I like to be able to take my things to rehearsal, to backstage, in the car, so that's where I prefer the massage balls. But that is also another way that you can really just get those muscles nice and warm. The third way requires no extra tools, and that is to just use your hands. Use your hands to massage your muscles and to rub on your muscles before you actually start stretching so that you can get them warm to stretch them out. So even contact with your hands over your muscles is going to get them a little bit more stretchy, and you will feel them kind of heat up and warm up, which is where you want your muscles to be before you stretch. You don't want to stretch cold muscles. Cold muscles being stretched is what can cause muscle strains. Now, if you're someone that doesn't stretch a lot, or you're kind of more of a beginner when it comes to stretching, I would advise you to start with the hands first and then work your way to using tools. The tools are going to actually use your body weight on them to create that massage feeling, and so it's going to require your muscles to already have a certain level of give in them. So if you're already a very stiff person, I wouldn't advise you to start with that. Start with just using your hands first, and if you find that maybe you're just a little bit more sore that day, even if you do stretch a lot, start with your hands first and then use your tools. Now, my second flexibility and stretching tip to help you increase your flexibility with less pain and improve your workouts is to constantly be thinking about your form when you're doing your stretches. So it's easy to do stretching and kind of just get a little bit lazy in them, which is why in my stretches I like to combine a combination of passive and active stretches, because that way it requires me to think about where my placement is in that stretch. So when you are doing a stretch, there are a couple of points that you want to keep in mind. One, always make sure that when you're hinging in your hips, you're really elongating your lower back and your tailbone so that you're getting the most bend out of that hip flexion. And hip flexion is when you're moving your knee and your hip closer together. So in any stretch where you're doing that, think about really elongating your lower back so that you're actually getting the most out of that stretch instead of crunching your lower back and trying to stretch at the same time. Another thing to think about is making sure that your knee is in line with your foot when you are doing things like squats or any kind of stretch that uses that bend. So you want to make sure that you're using all of the muscles in your leg instead of relying on some muscles more than others, because those muscles that you're relying heavily on can lead to an overuse injury, or that's how you accidentally twist an ankle just because you are relying too much and putting too much weight on that one part of your body. So an easy way to check this is to look in the mirror and just see if your knee and your foot are in line with each other. I'm not a firm believer that you have to have your knee like over your toes or not over your toes or whatever the argument is, but just make sure that it's in line so that you're really stretching out all the way up to the hip in that leg, and you're really getting a good stretch in the thigh as well. I think a lot of people rely on their knees, which is why sometimes you may see your knee kind of shift in a little bit or point out, just depending on how you're distributing your weight. You want to train yourself when you're stretching, either before a workout or just stretching on its own, in the proper position with your knee and your toes in line with each other. This also will help you just make sure you have evenly distributed strength in your leg and can keep you from either twisting an ankle or twisting a knee, or can allow you to pivot quicker and more safely without getting an injury. So checking yourself during your stretches and making sure that you're constantly doing this will make sure that your stretches are actually more effective, and so you won't have to do them as many times because you'll get more out of the stretch the first time when you did it the right way. Now, my third flexibility and stretching tip happens outside of you actually doing the stretch routine, and that is to increase your protein intake. Now, when you are stretching more often, you are, like I said, causing those little micro tears that we talked about in your muscles. And so your muscles need to repair themselves and fill those spaces with more muscle tissue, which will eventually give you more flexibility. And so in order for it to do that, it needs to be fed the right way so that it actually can produce those muscle fibers. Otherwise, it's going to take it much longer to rebuild. You want to intake more protein, which is going to give you those amino acids to help you build your muscle tissue again. This video is not sponsored, but this is the protein that I take. I really like this Orgain protein powder. It is not super powdery in taste, and because it is a plant-based protein, it doesn't contain the whey and lactose that like a dairy containing protein would contain. So I like it, and I believe I still have a coupon code that you guys could use, so I'll have that linked down below. I like to drink a protein shake after I stretch or after I stretch and work out, just to kind of expedite that process. And so that way, the next time that I go to work out or the next time that I go to stretch, I'm not working with inflamed muscles. My muscles have had some time to repair themselves. Now, as a tag on to that, if you do notice that you're feeling a little bit more sore than normal, maybe you got your stretches a little bit further this time, you're really seeing the results of your flexibility now, your body's first response is going to try to be to just shrink back up and tighten up. So the way that my dance teacher used to explain it to me was, after you've really danced and stretched and gotten loose like that, your body really wants to protect your joints, and it wants to make sure that you're not going to injure yourself and injure the joints that are close to those muscles that now have all of those little micro tears. So it's going to really cause inflammation and kind of just tighten and shrink everything together. And during that time, while also increasing the protein, you want to consider maybe adding in some active rest instead. So this is why I don't think it's necessary to stretch every single day, because your body needs to be able to recuperate after you stretched. So some forms of active rest could be taking a walk or swimming, something that's going to get you to use those muscles, but not necessarily to the extent that you did the day before, because they still have to heal. And as I'm doing my active rest moments, let's say I'm going for a walk and I drop something on the ground, I make myself really stretch and hinge in my hips, bend in my hips to pick whatever it is I'm picking up, so that I'm using those muscles that I just stretched out. So we want to slowly get back into using them while still giving them time to kind of rebuild and get stronger. Now, my fourth flexibility and stretch tip is for those of you guys who really like to work out and want to see more results from your workouts. And this is coming from my personal experience. I've found that really using my flexibility in my workouts helps me to maintain the flexibility and also to improve the workout. So for example, squats are something that I do a lot, and it's something that I kind of do in different modified versions throughout my workouts. But when I'm doing my squats, I've noticed that now when I use my flexibility more, when I'm really keeping my back long, the things that I did in my stretches, when I'm doing that in the workout, I'm noticing more results because I'm requiring myself to use more muscles. And so more of those muscles are getting used, and then I see more results. So I have seen a lot more results from me doing my squats recently, just from making sure that my actual stretches when I'm doing my stretch time are also in the correct form. So this kind of piggybacks off of keeping the correct form, but it kind of overflows into the other things you do. Another thing is to also incorporate it into your daily life. So a simple way to make sure that you're using the muscles that you stretch out in your back when you are just kind of walking around is to improve your posture. So a lot of times, this is why I see guys who are in the gym and they're like this, and it's all tight in here, because they don't do enough back stretches, or if they do, they're not requiring themselves to use that back stretch and that new posture on a daily basis and in their workouts. So just think of how you can kind of use the things that you're doing in these isolated environments, like in your stretches or in your workouts, and actually bring it to your daily life so that it becomes a part of habit, and then your body just kind of shapes itself around that. And my fifth and final flexibility and stretching tip to help you feel less pain as you're trying to increase your flexibility is to stay hydrated, you guys. Drink your water. Your muscles, let's go back to that clay analogy. If you've ever worked with clay before, you know that the more it gets wet, the more that it's able to spread out. And your muscles are the same way. The more you drink water, the more it hydrates your muscles and allows them to stretch out more. And so if you're not properly hydrated and then you're going to stretch, it's kind of like trying to stretch really stiff muscles again. So again, we want those muscles to be nice and malleable before we stretch them out. And a part of that is just making sure you drink your water. And that is it, you guys. Those are my 5 flexibility and stretching tips to help you improve your flexibility faster without having to experience a whole bunch of extra pain. Like I said, I don't stretch every day. I kind of just use stretching as a way to monitor how my body is doing. So if you're someone who works out, maybe working out is how you do that, by testing your strength abilities today versus how it was 2 months ago. But I do the same thing with stretching. And so really just understanding how my muscles are working while I'm stretching helps me make sure that I'm optimizing those stretches and having that be my consistent level of flexibility all the time. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button first of all, and go ahead and share it with a friend, because I know a lot of you guys have workout buddies or dance friends or something who they're stretching and they're probably not thinking about these things. And so sometimes they just need a reminder, and it might be better and more helpful coming from you. And if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss my next stretch routine. I post all kinds of videos on this channel, so it's not a stretch routine every week, but if you're subscribed, then you'll be the first one to know, because you'll also have those notifications on. How about that? I'll see you guys in my next video next weekend. Later.